Started.
Welcome to the Service MVP podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara, America's Service Sales Coach, and we have with us a person I've been admiring from afar. Let's put it that way. I'm not sure if he'd call me a stalker if I did that, but definitely I've been reading a lot of his posts on Twitter, and it was now called X. And I've been, I can always tell when I read something from somebody. It's like, yeah, this guy's like living rent free in my head. He could have, like, I could have wrote that, So I was like, it's well, why not just interview him and get him out here? Jeff Tauzin. Jeff, is that how you pronounce your name? Hopefully, I didn't ask
Yes,
you
sir.
before.
Yep.
Jeff, why don't you start? Jeff's going to show us today how to avoid some blunders you could make or mistakes you could make. How to avoid mistakes when the mistakes to avoid when building your home service business. Does that sound good, Jeff?
Sounds good.
Jeff, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point where you're able to help and speak with some wisdom to service contractors out there?
Sure. So a little bit about me going back in history. So my grandpa worked for the oldest, probably AC refrigeration company in our small town. Also with my great uncle, which his brother-in-law. So they actually both left that company and both started uh, heating and air conditioning companies. So my grandpa
Hmm.
had three sons, and all sons worked for him. And basically, the younger boys left, and my dad was the last one that still worked for my grandpa.
Hmm.
Long story short, they had a falling out, never reconciled their relationship. My dad uh, left and went and worked for what is now John Deere Thibodeau for about 5 years in the maintenance department, and he was doing work on the side. And I just go help him on the weekends, but I was exposed to the business, if you'd call it a business. It was more like my grandpa was probably more business savvy than my dad,
Hmm.
but I would say that, the way he ran things back then, my grandpa worked on everything from window units to ice machines to heating and air conditioning to new construction. Is definitely a lifestyle business. And so, I mean, I was exposed to that type of business. I can remember riding with my grandpa when I was 7, 8 years old. And so I was around the industry my whole life. My dad, once my dad left John Deere after 5 years, he went in business for himself. He started the company around 1988. He just really wanted to be a sole proprietor. I helped him kind of part time in and out of college and high school. And I did my first install when I was like 14 years old. He left me on a new construction job by myself.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's legal, but he did. So, I kind of had to learn the hard way. So I'd say I worked every position in the company from helper to CEO. Have a lot of experience. I was in some really good trade organizations that made a big difference, and just learned a lot over the years. And try and help people not make the mistakes I made, because I see contractors trying to chase those shiny objects that don't really lead to peace of mind and profitability and cash flow. They lead to revenue and chaos. So I just try and help people avoid all the mistakes I made. It's really
Well, that's definitely very kind of you, and definitely, I think it is something that comes with it. It's like therapeutic, isn't it? When you're of service to other people, uh, there's something therapeutic that not only does the person you're serving get something, but I think the person providing the service, that's the magic of the service business, right? I think you get as much as the person gets when you give service, right, Jeff?
absolutely. I mean, I've kind of made it my mission. I mean, my mission when I was operating the company was to help other people, provide more for their family, make a little, maybe earn a little bit more money, just become better people. So that was always my outcome. And I figured if I could help them, maybe I'll make a little bit more money too. So
Nice. Well, I'm going to take a guess at your regional accent, where
down the
you're from.
body,
I was gonna say Louisiana. There,
South Louisiana.
I was gonna nail it. I took the answer.
I
I just
figured, yeah.
let me answer the question first. You asked and answered my own question. Down in the bayou. Well, definitely. That's a place where air conditioning isn't a luxury. It's definitely a necessity. No doubt about that. It sounds, and one thing that kind of stood out to me was helping that. a lot of people try to get consulting jobs with big companies and stuff like that. But truthfully, it sounds like you're trying to get the help the people who are trying to get to the point where they create value in their business, right? So why don't you go over some of the things that you can that maybe like the ring of truth that people could hear about some of the mistakes they make, and be like they might say, we're doing that now. We
Yeah.
gotta before get Jeff to help us stop doing that or whatever. So what are some of the things you can tell us that are in the top 10 or whatever if you want to, or top three that mistakes that people should avoid, or blunders that can sometimes be costly and waste a lot of time of our life. What do you think?
Uh,
What's the first one? What do you think?
I say when we, the majority of contractors is still around that $1 million mark or smaller. So, for those contractors, I would say you always can charge more than you think you can. That's we used to do, I was a member of Service Roundtable and Service Nation Next Door.
Mm-hmm.
And, we used to survey the clients every year. And every year I was always surprised that the clients were like, oh, we about priced average. I'm like, really? I always thought we were the highest in the market. So that was one thing, was making sure you price right, because most contractors always, oh, well, what market you in that you can charge that? The
Mm-hmm.
market does play a role, but not as significant as most contractors make it out to be. Um,
I definitely can attest to that because for about I would say the first 24 years I've been doing about 48 years now. The first 24 years, I thought the motivation for people to buy was to get a cheaper price. Like I thought like I was constantly being, it's not just like raise the price, Jeff, but it's also like fighting the instinct to think. I think the mark of a bad, that's one of the things I read I love about you is like the mark of a bad salesperson is somebody who can't create value. And so they think the only way to create value is to lower the price. That so not only should you raise the price most often, but the people is a mistaken thing about lowering the price. Can you talk about that? That when your team is asking to lower the price, speak on that a little bit. You probably have some passion. Sounds like you have some
yeah,
passion behind that thought. Well, tell me about
yeah.
that.
So, I've always sales guys mostly, not so much technicians, but sales guys will push back on prices being raised. With that, it comes down to training look, it all comes down to perception. Somebody can buy a $5 a handbag that's made for $5 and buy it for $15. And
Mm-hmm.
they can also buy a Louis Vuitton handbag that's made for $5 and pay $500. So all of it comes down to perception of value. So you have to be able to increase the perception of value to be able to command your price. And obviously, I always believe that sales and value is just a transfer of belief. So, if your
Mm-hmm.
sales guys and everybody in the company believes that, hey, we should be commanding this price, we deserve this price, and we're gonna more than satisfy the client, then the price really shouldn't be an issue. That's just the way I always thought about it. Because if you can't command the price, especially in today's market, which you hear a lot of contractors complain about labor. How can you afford the labor if you're always just lowering price, lowering price,
Mm-hmm.
lowering price? And so
Yeah, I mean,
it
I don't think I've ever heard a waiter at a restaurant ever say, "Man, I wish they would lower their prices here for the on the menu." Like I've never heard. Like it's interesting because when you work any other business except for the
yeah,
service business, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go work at that really great steakhouse because the prices are higher. I know I'm gonna get a better tip because it's better service and you're gonna get better tips." So I think the motivation, a good waiter would be like, if I work at Denny's, I'm going to get really crappy tips because the prices are so low. But if I work at Ruth Chris or I work at Fleming Steakhouse, I'm probably going to get better tips because the minimum bill is going to be $200 for a table
right,
of 2 or 3 people, right? So I
definitely.
think is that why is it you think you've been doing this for a while? What is it you think that people you think it's just because they don't know how to create value that they think that the trigger to getting more like I've heard so many people say if we lower that price we'd sell a lot more, right? And that's a false notion. Have you ever seen
I
somebody sell more because they lowered the price?
Well, I would say I have data that shows otherwise. I would say every time I've raised prices, and I'm talking going from a $10,000 system price to 11, 12 to 13, 13 to 16. What I've seen is probably over the next 2 weeks to 4 weeks is a slight slump in closing ratio, and it goes back right back to where it was before after a couple months. So it it all comes down to mindset. I think if you start with a person that has the right mindset, then the training is fairly easy. If you start with a person that has their own mindset, you got a long road ahead of you, and you probably have that person in the wrong position in the company, or that maybe that person shouldn't be in the company as well. And that's what hurts a lot of small contractors too, because it really the only thing holding them back is their mindset, that I've
Mhm.
seen.
Definitely. I think it is. It's true there. And I think you speak a lot about that. Like, not only is the company, when the prices are what they need to be, not only is the company making more, but all the employees make more. Like, I just think I saw your post on NVIDIA, who talks about how, what, 76% of their employees are millionaires, they said, or something like that. And then there's, I don't know how many percentage have, or 20, over 20 million in net worth, he said
Yeah,
on that, or something like that. It was
crazy. Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, and that's I think a lot of a lot of employees is like, why are you championing the lower the price, because you're taking away from your family, Jeff. Does that make sense, or is that
Yeah, that's
fair to
fair.
say?
I think too, service contractors, we do have to go against, you old enough to remember the gas commercials with was it Vern? Oh,
Oh
Vern.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, that perception was laid out to the public, like,
Mm-hmm,
service contractors are cheap or uneducated, and
hmm
plumbers have the ass crack showing, just, ridiculous things. And you have to work against that every day, especially in my market, being such a small market. I think, where the labor pool is larger, and you have more sophisticated contractors, it's a little easier. But some markets is more difficult to kind of fight those stigmas and those, I guess, prejudice almost. But
hmm
you have to be at a charge, and when the company makes more money, assuming the owner's a good person, right? That
hmm
money should go back to the employees and ultimately to the community as well, and serving the clients at a higher level. So,
hmm
uh, cash flow makes everybody happy. So,
I always say, for most of the contractors out there, I'd say, if I say, well, before you tell me your prices, most likely I'm going to tell you triple your price and add $150 per hour.
right.
And you're probably going to be close to where you need to be. So it's a good subject. So let's get the price right. There's a science to it. Like, Ron Smith made his book on that. Everybody's got their variation, but let's put it this way: you got to price in the inefficiency of the service, that's not, things that are going around the service, not travel time, diagnostic time, all that stuff. Got to be built into it as well there too. So I think get the price right. What's another blunder or mistake you think that people make that you can help kind of point out or shine the light of truth on there, Jeff?
Don't go trying to start a new business unit, because that's like the thing nowadays. Like, hey, I can't just have an HVAC company.
Mm-hmm.
Plumbing, I have electrical. And look, we did.
Mm-hmm.
I did HVAC, I did generators, plumbing, electrical. Hell, I should have had my guys put up a fence one time. So, uh, what happens is it's going to take you away from your high profitability jobs, and you'll get more revenue, but it's going to lower your cash flow and your profitability. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you'll do an extra $1 million in sales, but you put the same amount on the bottom line, and then you had to carry 5 to 10 more employees. So is it really worth it? So I would say, don't even think about adding another business unit till you mastered, and you at least 15% profit margins or greater in your primary business unit. So I think that's a mistake I made, because I thought, it's gonna, and all, adding more business units just made everything more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can't pay your bills with your current trade that you're a master of,
Yeah.
it's not a good idea to take take on a trade that you have no idea about,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then try and do more about it. Hey, let's take out. We need plumbing. That's going to be weatherproof. But yeah, but do you even make money on your heating and air conditioning company, or the? If we start electrical, we really start making money. It's always the grass is greener kind of a thing on that. But I do agree with that. People, and by the way, there is a lot of a seduction of potential out there, like home solar, home, what do you call it? Building performance. So many different little tentacles that are out there that are the seduction of potential, right, Jeff? Have you seen that? You still hear me? Okay.
Hold on, wait. I'm still there.
Here, you gotcha.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dropped
Uh,
out for a second. I think
oh,
it was
that's
my.
okay. Yeah, the speaker was there. Yeah, that's okay. What do you think on that? Seduction of potential. There's always something coming around the corner. So don't start another business unit until you're making money with the current one you got, and then you can start saying, "Hey, let's apply the system." How about that though? Too, I think you kind of leads you to another mistake right there, right? Like, oh, if you do start a plumbing business and you're profitable in your heating and cooling business, the plumbers will say like, "Well, heating and cooling's different than
Oh
you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
you can't charge that kind of money for plumbing." It's always each train says the same thing, like, oh yeah, he's a plumber. He can charge that much. You can't charge that in HVAC. But they always act like whatever somebody else is doing, it's obviously worth it. But if I do it, it's not worth it. You ever see that mistake, Jeff, where
Oh
people
yeah.
people 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 think one trade is worth the money, but their trade isn't?
Yeah, I see it all the time. In fact, you know, it is crazy as may seem, is California has less stringent laws on plumbing than Louisiana does. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I started plumbing, I had to get a master plumber on board, which I didn't
Yeah.
have. And then I leased a plumbing license for a long time. And that they don't, the state of Louisiana really don't let you do that. So I was kind of sliding by. And my
Mm-hmm.
master plumber that I hired, he was charging, I think, 800-900 bucks to change a water heater with the cost of the water heater in it. I was like, I was like, I was
It's
like,
not going to work.
I was like, man, look, I said, look, the HVAC guys here are charging at that time probably 2,200 bucks to change a water heater. You can get
Mm-hmm.
more. And
Yeah.
it's just, and I had to argue back and forth. And what was difficult about adding plumbing is I didn't really know a lot about the
Mm-hmm.
service part of it to help. So I had to go by, helping price jobs because he was before the master plumber, he was time and material, so we were flat rate, and it was just it took up a lot of my time the first year we had plumbing until I was able to kind of build a
Je-
price to get everything going.
Jeff, if I had a nickel for every time I heard somebody call me saying, "Yeah, we took on electrical, but the electricians are saying you can't charge that much for this stuff." I mean, what do you think? I'm like, "Is that true?" I'm like, "Dude, you're falling for that one." Because
Yeah,
that's the oldest. I'd have if I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I'd have a room full of nickels up to the ceiling, because it's always that way. It's like some dude who doesn't know anything about business comes in and starts talking about, well, when
yeah,
you're an electrician, you can't charge that much for this stuff. And
right.
truthfully, electricians can charge a lot more than almost any trade in that part of it there. So that's a good one. That's a good one there. Don't start somewhere thing. And then number two, don't just let the tradesman come in and tell you how to run a business. You got to tell him how we're going to
Right,
run this thing. You have to have the operating system. You can't be like falling prey to the how the plumber's going to do things. Like, because your HVAC guys are selling for 2,200. Hey, we're going to teach you how to sell like they sell. Not we're going to not
right,
teach our guys to sell the way you sell at $900. That's
right.
crazy, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's like when you say it out loud, it's pretty obvious, obviously. But
yeah. It's
some people have a
I
yeah.
mean, I think I've heard every excuse in the book over the years, so
Do
is
do
what.
you have people call you, Jeff, and then you evaluate? What do you do out there? Do you right now? I see it sounds like you help businesses, not you. It sounds like you sold yours,
Yeah, so
and
I actually
to a
still
larger
work for
company. Yeah.
Airpros, so I do a lot of work in Service Titan for them, and
Mhm.
just actually still help the general manager at the company I sold and some of the other general managers. Just kind of basically just make sure the Service Titan stuff is cleaned up and anything I'm asking to do
Nice.
special projects. So
Well, Anthony Pryor is one of my favorite friends, and definitely
yeah,
I'll mention that we talked to you because he's a great friend of mine, and
appreciate it. Yeah,
we worked with them before, and definitely he's a great company. I like that.
yeah, he's a good guy.
And but you went on to sell, but now you still from time to time still help other people just out of your
I
kindness of your
mean,
heart. What do you do?
it's not a business or anything. I'll tell you what happened was I joined X
Mhm.
right when I heard Elon was buying it.
Mm,
And I started like just kind of, this is a good source for news.
hmm.
And I was like, well, nobody's really posting anything on X. Everybody's on Facebook. Well, let me just, so, I bought like a, software that just auto schedules my posts.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
just, so let me post on X because nobody else is doing it on here. So, then I was
Well, it's
mad.
some good, it's some good stuff. I mean, seriously, you
Yeah.
can scroll through Jeff's timeline and you get some of the best practice, some really good best practice advice. That would be something I would highly recommend anybody listen to this thing. Just go to what is it? Jeff Tauzin, just Jeff
Jeff B.
T A T A
Tauzin.
U T A U Z I N.
Yep.
Just look that up and he'll pop right up there and you'll see words of wisdom from his years of experience. He probably made some of these mistakes. Jeff, is that true?
Oh yeah, everything I'm posting about, I lived through, made the mistake myself. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
anything else you want to bring up, Jeff? What else you think out there we
Well,
can facilitate here?
well, it's one thing too, definitely in HVAC and plumbing world, and I think early on Frank Blau uh, had a influence on me. And it's crazy when I think about the things that he said, they like probably more impactful today than when he was saying them 20 years ago. Uh, he said, "Hey, take all your overhead and put it in your labor." Like both departments, put
Hmm.
everything, all your weight in your labor. All you need is a carrying cost markup on parts. And today that, with our industries being more and more commoditized, that holds true more. And I'm a big proponent of contractors making, especially HVAC contractors, making sure they charge properly for manufactured part only warranty repairs. I believe that should be charged at a high premium. And the reason being is one, I don't want to reward my clients that didn't buy an extended warranty. So I don't want to go service the clients that didn't buy an extended warranty and miss out, have opportunity loss to go do high risk evaporator call warranty change outs if I'm not highly profitable on those jobs. So I'm just a big proponent, you know, not only do contractors need to charge more, but they definitely need to charge way more for warranty work.
Well, it's funny because Frank Blau himself in 1992 insulted me right in the very front row of a seminar, and it was, and it did lead me to doing what I'm doing right now. I would not be doing it if I didn't know my cost, price per profit, make sure that we focus on the customer experience.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I think that's where I think when I read something like your stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm reading from somebody who obviously has a lot of shared experiences with me
Yeah.
in some way because I see a lot of at least see a lot of the same things where I always said when I read something I said that I could have written myself, but it's nice that Jeff did it for me instead.
Well, I appreciate
Then
it.
I know it's always nicer. So definitely, Jeff, I definitely think you've done a great job of putting that together. But good stuff there, Jeff. Any other final thoughts you want to just throw out there? We're coming to an end here. I mean, I always say a good podcast starts on time and a great one ends on time. These people wanting more, you know.
Yeah.
So, anything else you think that you'd like to follow through with, or just kind of
Yeah,
throw out
I would
your
say,
advice or thoughts? What's in your heart for service contractors out there?
yeah, I would say for a final thing is uh, think long and hard, and I would say probably don't run a lifestyle business. And what I mean is, when you run a lifestyle business, you don't really have an exit plan.
Hmm.
And you running all kind of personal expenses through your business, and what maybe you're paying for vacations through your business and whatever else. Um, you should run every business with the intention to exit. And and,
Mm.
and you can use me as an example. Now, I sold my business before my accident, but anything can happen out there. My accident taught me don't take anything for granted. So I would advise all business owners operate, execute systems and processes like you need to exit tomorrow.
Mm.
And whether you choose to exit or not, at least you're ready. Uh, that way, if something happens to you or to a family member you gotta go take care of or whatever it may be, you're ready to exit if you need to.
It's very
And
interesting because then it's like, yeah, because I think sometimes that lifestyle business is the thing that actually destroys your lifestyle. That's the
right,
it consumes your lifestyle
yeah,
without because I'll tell you what, when I sold my business in 2001 to a next star contractor, what happened is that I'm like, man, I got to get my shit together to if I'm going to put this thing on, if I'm going to expose this to a contractors 2000 company.
right,
I got to fire Dale and Todd for one thing.
yeah,
Like there's two guys I had to get rid of. I'm like, I got to get the, I can't have them see these guys. And so I immediately cleaned the garbage up in my company. And it was funny. I'm like, you know what? Why didn't I do this? Like I did it for the last 4 years when I was going to do that. But I'm like, why didn't I do this for the first 4 years too? I should have. I think one of the best pieces of advice you gave there, Jeff. It's a real cherry on top of the sundae because if you built it like somebody's going to inspect it to purchase it, you would build it so that you would all the rotten eggs would be put in the garbage. You wouldn't leave them sitting out there. Does that make sense, there, Jeff?
absolutely, yeah. And like I said, I just go back. I ran a lifestyle business. I had another business operating, and I had employees at my primary business, paying them through the primary business. I had to go work at another business. It
Hmm.
was just I've done maybe every mistake in the book, and I think y- I'm always a big proponent is be exit ready, and that was a big thing that Service Nation preached.
Yeah.
Um, and since my accident, it just made me realize, because I kind of thought of myself as a good person, and
Hmm.
just like, I kind of hate why this happened to me, and
Yeah.
I think, since my accident, it made me realize, like, man, anything can happen to anybody at any time. You need to be ready, and your business should be. If you have one business, it should be your primary asset. It needs to be ready to exit.
Well, Jeff, I came into this podcast hoping I have a good guest, but I didn't know I'd leave this podcast knowing I have a good friend. So
No, I
thank you,
appreciate it.
thank you so much for that. And that's a free bonus you're giving me. You didn't tell me you're giving it to me, but I'm already giving you my friendship, so you don't have to worry about it doesn't cost anything. It just is,
Oh,
it's
yeah, I
free.
appreciate it. Yeah.
But it's worth its weight in gold too. And believe me, I'm weighed a lot, so that's great. But I think some wise advice, and I would say follow Jeff, and Jeff is available on Twitter, and you can, or X if you want to call it, it's X after Elon bought it, so he is available there. So if you, and it sounds like he has a, I call open hand philosophy, which I have too, which is let me just help somebody first, and then if they want to do something more. They can do that with us if they want to. And by the way, Jeff does belong to a company that does acquire other companies. So if you were looking for that, I would definitely look at Air Pros as a possible partner in the future, a partner for profit, and to do that exit with, because Anthony takes care of those companies very well, and they've come a long way. I could tell you that from from where he first started doing this, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
kind of a wreck when he first started. But now he's got a finely tuned machine here going on, and I definitely admire him so much, and I admire you, Jeff, too. So thanks so much for parting your words of wisdom here, and thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
But I sure appreciate you having me, Joe. Um, and yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to me, for advice or a company for sale, I'd be glad to help. And it's pro bono, so don't feel, reach out to me. So,
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. We'll see everybody here on the next episode of the Service MVP podcast.